a crucial waterway in Asia, deep-sea marine life, a source of regional tension.
Good morning. In this episode of Yubian Estudentista Level 1, we are going to look at the respective claims of sovereignty over the Scarborough Shoal between the Philippines and China. First, let's talk about Scarborough Shoal.
It is rich in oil and gas. There are loads of fish, and the shipping lanes are some of the busiest in the world. The shoal is located inside the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines, but has been claimed by China as its ancestral territory since the 13th century. Over the years, territorial dispute has been present between the Philippines and China over control of the Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. This conflict centers around the valuable fishing grounds in the area.
The Philippines claims that the historic evidence for its sovereignty includes the planting of a flagpole in 1965, the building and operation of a small lighthouse in 1965, which was rehabilitated by the Philippine Navy in 1992, and the use of Scarborough Shoal as an impact range by US and Philippine forces stationed at Subic Bay.
Additionally, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo signed a law declaring Scarborough Shoal outside the main archipelago but under the island regime in the year 2009. This aligns with UNCLOS and historical links between the shoal and the Philippines. The shoal has been considered a special territory since the 19th century and was excluded from baseline laws from 1961, 1968, and 2009. State activities on the shoal such as rescue operation, smuggling, and poaching align with the low tide elevation, isolation from the main archipelago, and the sovereign rights of the state in the Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ.
On the other hand, the Chinese states that in 1935, China's Map Verification Committee declared ownership of 132 islands, reefs, and shoals in the South China Sea.
Scarborough Shoal was listed as part of what China now refers to as Zhongsha Island. Chinese authors believe that since China considers Scarborough Shoal as part of Zhongsha when China claimed ownership of Zhongsha in 1951, it also included Scarborough Shoal. For the Chinese authorities, Scarborough Shoal is a part of a larger archipelago called Zhongsha Kundao, comprising of mostly underwater features located in the northern part of the South China Sea. The stakes are high. The few rocks of Scarborough Shoal are the only features of Zhongsha Kundao above sea level.
Tension rose in 2012 when China took control of the shoal, leading to a diplomatic and legal disagreement. Now, that standoff led to the Philippines filing a suit before the tribunal, which ruled in 2016 that China's action violated international law. However, the conflict is still ongoing, and its impact is felt regarding regional stability and maritime security.
On July 12, 2016, an arbitral tribunal at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague convened under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea compulsory dispute settlement provisions, stating that there was no evidence of China's historical exclusive control over the key waterway. The tribunal's 5 arbitrators then ruled largely in favor of the Philippines in its case against China. Beijing refused to participate in the arbitration and rejected the outcome.
The Permanent Court of Arbitration's ruling was overwhelmingly favorable to the Philippines' position, ruling several elements of China's claims in the South China Sea unlawful. Here are the key points.
Under violation of fishing rights. According to the tribunal, China has breached the Philippines' sovereign rights to the living resources within its EEZ. Specifically, the tribunal noted that China's 2012 fishing moratorium in the South China Sea did not make exceptions for areas within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and did not restrict the moratorium to Chinese flag vessels. Having no entitlement to territorial sea. One of the main conclusions drawn from the case was that Scarborough Shoal and the other heighted features in the Spratly Island could not support human habitation or economic activity and are, therefore, legally classified as rocks under Article 121. Consequently, they do not give rise to exclusive economic zones or continental shelf entitlements. This means that the only EEZs and continental shelves in the South China Sea are those generated by the coastline of the surrounding states and possibly some of the parcel islands. Having interference with traditional fishing rights, the tribunal that examined Scarborough Shoal determined that Chinese and Filipino fishers are allowed to engage traditional fishing even if the sovereignty of the shoal is disputed. However, the tribunal found that China had unlawfully prevented Filipino fishermen from fishing in the area since May 2012 using its official vessels.
Under China's engagement in environmentally destructive harvesting of endangered species illegally, the award concluded that China has breached Article 192 and 194 of the Convention by tolerating and protecting Chinese fishing vessels that engage in harmful harvesting activities of endangered species at various locations in the Spratly Islands. The large-scale extraction of endangered giant clams caused severe damage to more than 25,000 acres of swallow coral reefs from 2012 to 2016, often under the watch of Chinese law enforcement vessels. Although there was a decline in activity after 2016, Chinese clam harvesters have resumed their destructive activities at Scarborough Shoal and throughout the parcels, frequently in the presence of the China Coast Guards. Also, China's claims to historic rights and resources within its 9-dash line have no legal basis. None of China's claimed land featured in the Spratly Island are an island capable of generating a 200 nm exclusive economic zone. Lastly, China violated the Philippine sovereign rights by interfering with Philippine oil exploration activities, prohibiting Philippine fishing vessels from operating, failing to prevent Chinese fishing vessels from operating, and conducting land reclamation in areas where the Philippines enjoys sovereign rights to explore for the exploit natural resources.
Both the Philippines and China's position on the said territory is consistent and clear.
Aside from Scarborough Shoal, another disputed maritime territory in the area is the Spratly Islands. The Philippines claims in the northeastern part of the Calayan, with fewer resources, the Philippines is no match for more powerful nations when it comes to maritime patrols. The US is the Philippines' sole military treaty ally and has committed to come to its aid should its maritime assets come under attack. China opposes any unilateral action that may undermine consensus and complicate or escalate the situation in the South China Sea. It's easy enough to understand why China wants to control when you look at the numbers. Around 40% of the world's liquefied natural gas passes through the South China Sea. From the Gulf through the Indian Ocean and onto places like China, the amount of trade that sails through there is worth $100 trillion a year, 1/3 of the world total.
Although both sides' arguments for sovereignty seem to have weaknesses, neither is likely to abandon its sovereignty claim. Given that the Philippines and China are not willing to seek third-party arbitration for the sovereign dispute, right now the best temporary solution is for the two countries to set aside the sovereignty dispute over the 5 rocks and share the resources of the 12 nautical mile territorial sea in some way. The 5 rocks themselves are economically worthless and their combined territorial sea only amount to 2,260 square nautical miles at maximum. Therefore, sharing the resources wouldn't be significantly detrimental even to the side that in fact has sovereignty.
What's more, as nations race to strengthen infrastructure and military outposts in the South China Sea, marine experts saying regionally commitment for collective marine protection are sorely needed. It looks like this whole dispute isn't going away, since the Philippines and China's been around for more than a decade already.
As Filipinos, we will stand up for our rights and be good at playing the long game because we believe that what's for the Philippines is permanently for the Filipinos.